Welcome back to Devotions. So, uh, got a new microphone, got a new camera. It's a little zoomed in. I found out I cannot zoom it out. So, we're playing with that today. But I figured I'd do my devotional before I go off to the gym, which is what I intend to do. But it was raining today, so it's kind of like I gotta wait till the monsoon stops and then I can maybe do that. Or other plans come to fruition sometimes too. So anyway, today we're gonna be continuing the Peter series, or the second Peter series, and so we'll just jump right into it blindly. I've not looked at it yet. I've not read this fully myself. So we're gonna have some fun trying to describe what the scriptures are actually meaning. Oh, also, I forgot to do uh yeah, I forgot to start some music like I had in that one video. The last video I made did not have it and I forgot about it entirely. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Making sure that it's actually producing audio. No. Okay. There we go. Now it is. All right. 2 Peter 2. This section is labeled Destructive Doctrines. But there were false prophets also among the people, even as there shall be false teachers among you, who privily shall bring in damnable heresies, even denying the Lord that bought them, and bring upon themselves swift destruction. And many shall follow their pernicious ways, by reason of whom the way of truth shall be evil spoken of. And through covetousness, yeah, that's the word, shall they with feigned words make merchandise of you, whose judgment now of a long time lingereth not, and their damnation slumbereth not. Excuse me. Basically, this is, from what I gather, kind of prophesying that there will be people who will denounce God and who will, speak evil of him, and who will effectively damn themselves to eternal damnation. And, and basically saying this is what's going to happen if you badmouth me, effectively, in a very layman term, I should say. And obviously there will be lots of heresies, which, we're seeing that in the world today. A lot of people are denouncing God and saying, he isn't real, or, or he isn't great and powerful. And those people, if they're not suffering and miserable now, they surely will be if they don't change their ways. So, yeah, I guess that's a bit of a warning to you as well, not just a premonition from 2 Peter. Anyway, this next section, continuing on with verse 4, is labeled Doom of False Teachers. So I guess what will happen to those people, not just their damnation, but describing their damnation. Starting with verse 4. For if God spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell, and delivered them into chains of darkness, to be reserved unto judgment, and spared not the old world, but saved Noah, the 8th person, a preacher of righteousness, bringing in the flood of the world of the ungodly, and turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemned them with an overthrow, making them an ensample unto those that after should live ungodly, and delivered just Lot, vexed with the filthy conversation of the wicked. For that righteous man dwelling among them, in seeing and hearing, vexed his righteous soul from day to day with their unlawful deeds. The Lord, excuse me, the Lord knoweth how to deliver the godly out of temptations, and to reserve the unjust unto the day of judgment, to be punished. But chiefly them walk that walk after the flesh in the lust of uncleanliness, and despise government. Presumptuous are they, self-willed. They are not presumptuous are they, and self-willed. They are not afraid to speak evil of dignities. Whereas angels, which are greater in power and might, bring not railing accusations against them before the Lord. So, I mean, yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Even angels are not spared when they sin and, present themselves as false teachers. And even the angels are cast down to the proverbial hell, which is earth. I guess because, 1/3 of all the angels followed Lucifer in his fall from heaven down to earth, and that was created as their home, or that was made to be their home. And hell, or no, I guess hell technically exists, but it wasn't called hell in the Old Testament, I don't think. And then in the New Testament, hell was presented as a concept and a word, and that's where the demons reside. So when it refers to spared not the angels that sinned, the angels are referring to demons that were angels that fell and turned into demons, or were made to be demons by, or to live alongside Satan in hell. That was kind of a hard explanation, but that's effectively what that means. But basically this is saying you will receive very cruel and painful judgment because you are against God, and you are, you're presumptuous and self-willed and speak evil of dignities, which is like good things, I suppose. And that's effectively what this is talking about. So make yourself right with the Lord, people, because he will judge you and you will be judged. So yeah, moving on to the next section. So this section is labeled Depravity of False Teachers, starting with verse 12. But these, as natural brute beasts, made to be taken and destroyed, speak evil of the things that they understand not, and shall utterly perish in their own corruption, and shall receive the reward of unrighteousness, as they count it pleasure to riot in the daytime. Spots they are and blemishes, sporting themselves with their own deceivings, while they feast with you, having eyes full of adultery, and that cannot cease from sin, beguiling unstable souls, and heart they have exercised with covetous practices, cursed children. Or I guess it's calling them cursed children. Cursed children, which have forsaken the right way and are gone astray, following the way of Balaam, the son of Bosor, however you must say it, who loved the wages of unrighteousness, but was rebuked for his iniquity. It's in the Bible. I am saying it. This word is, or this insult is talking about Balaam specifically. And obviously the word ass is referring to a donkey. So this is in the Bible. I'm going to read it. Verse 16. Balaam was rebuked for his iniquity. The dumb ass, speaking with man's voice, forbade the madness of the prophet. These are wells without water, clouds that are carried with a tempest, to whom the mist of darkness is reserved forever. So, wow, okay, that cranked it up from like a 50 to 100 really quickly, talking about the depravity of false teachers, describing not just that there will be false teachers and that they will denounce the name and glory of Christ, but also what they will be like. And that they will perish in their own corruption. Saying it, let me see. They count it pleasure to rot in the daytime, and they receive the reward of unrighteousness. Or that, I guess that is the reward of unrighteousness, is you consider it pleasurable to rot, or to riot in the daytime, not rot, sorry. They are blemishes, their spots are blemishes, sporting themselves with their own deceiving words while they feast with you. So they congregate with you, they pretend to be like you, and this is false teachers. So like people spreading false gospel, they will sit at your table, they'll feast with you, they'll tell you lies and tell you things that are not of God, but of them, of man, of evil desire instead of holy intent. Having eyes full of adultery that cannot cease from sin, beguiling unstable souls. They themselves are actively living in sin, and they're bringing other people down with them. And heart they have exercised with covetous practices. Cursed children is what they're referred to. They are cursed. There will be false teachers. There will be people who call themselves Christians and then in reality are not, and they are cursed children who have forsaken the right way and are gone astray, following the way of Balaam. Let me just do a quick check. I'm pretty sure Balaam is a false god in the Bible. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. Oh, Balaam. Okay, no, I was wrong. Balaam was a non-Israelite prophet and diviner from Mesopotamia who was hired by King Balak of Moab to curse the Israelites as they traveled to the Promised Land. Though he was most famous for a talking donkey, he serves as a cautionary figure of greed and spiritual compromise. So while he was not, like I said, a false deity or idol created, that would be Baal, Balaam was still a very bad person who rejected God and who tried to hinder, as it said, hinder the Israelites of that day from reaching their end goal. And he's the one in the story about the talking donkey where his donkey, see, I'm gonna make that up for a second. Hold on. Because I want to say it's the story where the angel got in the way of the donkey and the donkey would not move. Yes. He was rebuked by his own donkey after ignoring divine warnings and an invisible angelic threat. Effectively, he was trying to stand in God's way. God was telling him to stop. And his donkey effectively, just wouldn't move. He was rejected and rebuked by his own animal that had got him that far, and it was just not doing it anymore. And basically, he was a terrible person in the Bible. And that is what this is talking about, saying he was a dumb ass, which is actually, excuse me, which is actually kind of ironic because he rode in on an ass and was stopped by an angel. So you are what you surround yourself with, I guess. But no. And then these wells are without water, clouds that are carried with a tempest, to whom the mist of darkness is reserved forever. Basically, that's what's waiting for the depraved false teachers. And then we move on to the final section, the deception of false teachers, or deceptions of false teachers, sorry. Starting with verse 18. I know I went on a long rabbit hole, so we'll finish up real quick here. 18. For when they speak great swelling words of vanity, they allure through the lusts of the flesh, through much wantonness. Another rabbit trail, sorry. I need to know what that word means before I continue, out of curiosity. Wantonness, an intentional lack of restraint, extreme recklessness, or grossly immoral behavior. Gotcha. So, through much wantonness, those that were clean escaped from them who live in error. Excuse me. While they promise them liberty, they themselves are the servants of corruption. For of whom a man is overcome, of the same he is brought in bondage. For if, after they have escaped the pollutions of the world, through the knowledge of the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, they are again entangled therein and overcome, the latter end is worse with them than the beginning. That hit kind of deep. For if after they have escaped the pollutions of the world through the knowledge of the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, they are again entangled therein and overcome by those pollutions. The latter end is worse with them than the beginning. Effectively, they that overcome sin through the knowledge of Christ and then be retangled, or they fall back into sin, it's worse than the beginning, because they fell back into it even though they had more, they didn't have the knowledge of Christ prior, and then they gained the knowledge of Christ, they got saved, and then even knowing the things that they know, how to resist temptation, how to fight it, and how to fight sin, they fell back into it. It's worse then than it was originally. I'm going to highlight that. Unfortunately, that's a lot of us. That's a lot of people. That kind of just sent chills down my spine, because it's like I've had that happen before. You know, you overcome something and then you think you're good and then you fall back into it. So I guess it depends on what the context of who they're talking about. Are they talking about the false teachers? Or are they talking about people in general? Christians in general? I don't know. I'll have to do some extra delving and search for myself what that really means, or who it's referring to. But for now, I'm going to continue. Verse 21. For it had been better for them not to have known the way of righteousness than, after they have known it, to turn from the holy commandment delivered unto them. But it is happening unto them according to the true proverb. The dog is turned into his own vomit, or turned to his own vomit again, and the sow that was washed to their wallowing in the mire. So I thought I was going to come back to it later, or after the recording, which I still will. But it appears that I have been, that all the last three scriptures are literally just that. So 2 Peter 2:20 through 22 context. Okay, that makes a better, I won't read all of it, because, well, maybe I will. There's quite a bit here. So 2 Peter 2:20 through 22, what we just read, warns about individuals who learn the truth about Jesus but ultimately reject it, returning to a sinful lifestyle. So it's not so much as you fall back into sin as just like because temptation becomes too heavy and you sin again. And then, like, even though you're a Christian, you sin again, and then you have to repent again. It's talking about rejecting it ultimately, and completely rejecting the truth of Jesus, of Christ, and then returning to a sinful lifestyle, making it worse than it was before when you were ignorant. Peter uses vivid imagery to illustrate that those who turn away from God's righteousness after knowing it end up in a worse spiritual condition than before. Temporary reformation versus true reformation. Peter describes people who outwardly clean up their lives and escape the defilements of the world through Christian knowledge, but lack an inward change. And then the danger of turning back. The verses state it would be better not to have known the way of righteousness than to know it and abandon it. This is because rejecting known truth hardens the heart further. And then the dog and the sow at the end. Peter quotes a proverb comparing these individuals to a dog that returns to its vomit and a washed pig that goes back to wallowing in the mud. These illustrations highlight that an unchanged inner nature will always revert to its original sinful habits. So, still very important to keep in mind, and very important to go back to every once in a while and remind yourself of what you're really, working towards as a Christian. But it doesn't necessarily mean that all is lost whenever you actually fall to sin again, because we are human. We will inevitably do it again at some point. And we just have to be ready. We just have to be, we just have to put more faith in God that He will help us through those times of trouble and turmoil, and help us through our inevitable temptations and our inevitable fallbacks that we will have. I mean, without Him, we will sin. Without Him, we will have issues, and that's why we must go to Him. But what it's talking about there is openly and blatantly rejecting the power of Christ and saying, kind of like saying, oh, well, we know this, but we just don't care. And we're just going to fall back into sin, and we're just going to keep living like this because there's no point. When there is a point, you, I, anybody can be saved from the sins that they commit and washed clean of that evil, We don't have to live in it. We can. There is a way out. There is an escape. There is a way for us to be pure. Excuse me. We just have to seek it out. And that's what He's for. Excuse me, sorry. My throat is very phlegmy today. So that's all I have for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys got something out of it, because especially the last 3 verses, I certainly did. And anyway, until next time, or the final episode of the 2 Peter series, I will see you guys later.